Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome back for the second time in a little over 12 months. We're just thinking it was September 2024, and this particular gentleman was at a different organization. He's a three times founder. He's now the CEO and founder of Agentive, and we're going to talk all about AI as it relates to the full sales cycle. Mr. Usman Sheikh, welcome back to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you very much, Darren. Good to be here. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. And I must say, sitting in California, and I know it's a Thursday evening, you're looking very sharp there, mate. You've got the jacket on, got the turtleneck. It's just it's all happening.
Darren, I did it only for you, my friend.
Mate, is this where I tell you that this is only an audio podcast?
No, please don't.
No, I will actually put this up on YouTube because people have to see how sharp, a very sharp looking man, very elegant man. So hey, thank you so much. We've been connected on LinkedIn for a while now, and we had a great conversation in September 2024. Um, Without going into the detail of the previous organizations, I'd really love to delve into what the work you're doing now and the organization you founded, Agentive, and specifically I guess the niche or the opportunity you identified in the marketplace that led you to create this fabulous organization. And we'll then delve into I guess, the intricacies of it.
Yeah, sure. So, as you know, my background has been at the intersection of AI and B2B sales and marketing. So, this is my third startup in that particular space. We were quite ahead of the curve in introducing AI to sales. And then we applied AI to start predicting the mindset of buyers using psychometrics
Mm,
and being able to predict how people think. And that went into the EQ portion of how sellers could really improve their pitch, be much more personalized in writing out their outreach. And so we were doing that, and without really even realizing, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were actually building agents. So these self-tasked agents. And then towards the middle of last year, all this agentic stuff started hitting the marketplace. And I had been thinking that how do we do a real leapfrog moment, with this agentic? And it's really brilliant stuff. But what I noticed also is that a lot of companies, a lot of startups were taking point solutions or one task and automating it or creating an agent SDR, for example, sales
yeah.
development, and so on. And whereas it is good, but it's also kind of analogous to paving the cow paths. You're doing the same thing, but you're doing it faster using AI. And with Agentic, my thought was, how about the full revenue generation and go-to-market lifecycle?
Mm,
How about if we were to augment a seller with these different agents and different capabilities, such as being able to do research for them, being able to write these emotionally balanced, contextually relevant outreach, being able to do very difficult tasks like doing the research on companies, putting a SWOT analysis together,
mm,
or doing value engineering, which is a big thing in business to business, whereby you identify the challenges and pain points of your clients and you map your solutions and build an ROI case. It's a huge, extremely time consuming task. So, keeping that in mind, we looked at the full end to end life cycle from the very time you identify who your prospect would be, all the way through to one loss. And we said, look, we have these agents. How about if I were to be able to equip every seller in the organization with this team of highly qualified 130 IQ level agents that work 24/7, never complain, never go on holiday, and have extremely great productivity, right?
yeah.
And that's how the idea behind Agentive was born. The name essentially means to the producer of results, outcomes.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
focus on outcomes. Yeah,
Love that. Love that. And you were telling me earlier that when you were in the early phases of setting this business up, you got involved in doing some coding. And you said also that you're not necessarily a like an engineer, more of a business type person. But can you tell me just a little bit about I guess, the time saving and the efficiency and the effectiveness just by setting this business up in terms of some of the back end? Because it's a great example of the productivity and what's possible with using this type of technology.
absolutely. Yeah, so in my previous experiences, we had to rely on doing a lot of training ourselves, machine learning. We had, 100 or so developers working for a long period of time. We had people that were actually developing and then people who do quality assurance. And this time around, it was very different. I had a much smaller team. I had a designer myself initially. The
Mm.
designer would put out these user experience designs and using off the shelf free AI software, I was able to literally feed in a picture or an image and it would code out a prototype that would be actually functioning, right? And in minutes. And I was left dumbfounded, to be honest, because I never thought in my life I would be generating code. And here I was very pleased and proud of myself for having been able to do extremely beautiful looking screens that actually worked. You could click on and make things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And we just applied that wholeheartedly to our full development cycle. And in that development cycle, we've been able to shrink the time to 1/20th of what it
Mm.
would have taken us, and 1/10th of the manpower it would have taken us, and about 5 times the scale of what we have developed. And
Wow.
that's very analogous, Darren, to what are the kind of productivity gains sellers and marketeers today can also achieve using the proper agentic software.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. You're also saying, if it's okay if I mention this, that you've got a son in his early 30s who works for a large global organization who you said was a little bit against AI, but you shared an example of him playing guitar and his computer was doing code. So are you saying he's now on the bandwagon?
I think so. We've had some pretty heated arguments, let's put it mildly. It's kind of interesting, a much younger generation. He's in his early 30s and has been much more inclined towards analog, right? And
Okay.
and even the cameras he uses are film cameras and so on.
Yeah.
So very proud of the fact that can do the coding and could do those things. And I've been always saying, look, you've got to look at AI as a tool and look at it as a productivity enhancer.
Mm.
And so today, I got a video of him sitting in New York City playing guitar in his apartment. The title and the video was multitasking, and he turns the camera, and the camera is you see code being written automatically, no hands, it's just code being created. And he had actually started using AI, and he's like, look, it frees me up to learn my guitar, play my guitar, but at the same time, um, I'm doing my work, and I'm doing better than anybody else in my company doing this.
I love that. I love that. So he's now you wouldn't call him an early adopter, but maybe he's coming on board. And you wouldn't necessarily call him a laggard, but he's actually taking advantage. And maybe, just maybe, listening to Dad, who's been telling him probably for years, get on the AI bandwagon, son.
There you go. There you go. And I'll have to take this podcast and send it to him. I don't know how appreciative he would be of this, but yes, absolutely correct.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. So, Usman, before we jump into, I'd love to talk about I guess, the details of Agentive and what it's designed to do. There's one question at the top of my mind, which I think a lot of people out there, when it comes to AI, are always thinking, and that is, how does it affect the human interaction? So, will AI, because I want to get things on the table really, really early in this conversation. We're not necessarily saying that Agentive is going to replace the salesperson. What we're saying is it's a productivity tool to make it more relevant and hopefully differentiate the salesperson and hence the organization from their competitors. What do you say to people and to organizations where they say, you know what, AI is going to be the death of the sales experience. AI is going to be the death of the human experience. How do you look at it as a founder of an AI organization?
Yeah, so I don't agree with that statement that it's going to kill sales at
Yeah.
all. So if you look at the history of innovation, every time new technology or some new capability comes in, it expands the human envelope. Our horizons get broader.
Yeah.
And I think AI takes all the mundane stuff. Today in sales, shifting over to the sales analogies,
Mm,
or the sales experience, 72% of the time is spent away from customers, right? And this is not my stat, this is Salesforce.
yeah.
Uh, and those and it shows up by the fact that sellers, only 70% of salespeople are meeting their quota, right?
Mm,
So they're only spending 28% of customer facing time and achieving less of their quota. So
mm,
imagine now if I were to apply that same time compression analogy that I was citing in my development cycle to the
yeah.
sales cycle. All the heavy lifting, the difficult tasks that sellers must do, the best practices that they must do, but they don't do because they either don't have the time, they don't have the skills, they don't have the resources to do that.
Mm,
And if they do it, it comes much later than when the idea was born, right? Because
mm,
there's a time to market, so to speak, idea to actual result, and everything is lost in the momentum is lost in that process. So if I were to compress that from weeks and months to minutes,
mm,
right? What does it do to the human selling, right? So, number of things. First of all, of course, it gives me more productivity. It gives me better firepower, more intelligence, better quality leads that I can go after, and I can engage smarter and wiser with them.
mm,
Now, with that said, what that does is it enhances my productivity. But I still have to figure out what and how I'm going to sell. So it forces me to think and be more creative. So
mm,
take the mundane out, replace it with more time spent doing quality work, work that sellers like. Sellers like being with clients. They like
mm.
talking, they like selling, they don't like doing research. They don't like sitting in front of Salesforce and jumping to Zoom and then going into an outreach tool and then doing intent data over here. The swivel chair tax is very expensive, not only in
Yeah.
time and cost of the tools, it's expensive because loss of attention. I was
Yes.
doing something in tool A. By the time I shifted to tool F, it's a totally different. I forgot what I was doing in tool A.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
totally lost. It's very fragmented.
Mm,
So bringing it back, it now forces me to be able to take all those best practices, such as being able to build an account plan, SWOT analysis, value engineering matrices, ROI studies. All of that is done for me. And now, as a seller, it's my creativity in terms of how I apply these new assets and capabilities and tools that I have to actually win the deal, to stand out. That will not go away. The
mm,
human interaction and the ability to think of new ways of selling is not going to go away. AI is just going to be an enabler that compresses the time so you can do more in within that time and more in terms of creativity as well,
mm.
right?
I love that.
So I think it's a great opportunity, and the reality of the world is we're not backing out. We're just moving forward with AI. So the sooner we embrace it and we embrace it in the proper manner,
Yeah.
that's the better it is for us.
Well, it's interesting you say that because there'll be people out there that and we've seen it in universities and in schools that people are being banned from using AI because it's almost like going to give all of the intelligence over to the AI, whatever that gives me back, I'm going to put that as my work. And what we're saying here is that you've still got to interrogate it. You've still got to understand what is the messaging here. And as you rightly said, it enables the salesperson and the sales leader to really think creatively on how do I take this information and frame it in a way that is more appropriate to that particular customer. Because here's what we're not saying. We're not saying you give in to the AI and say whatever it gives us is the gospel. You've got to train it because you still, at the end of the day, have to sit in front of a customer and entice them, encourage them, influence them to make an educated buying decision, and that will never change.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is the fear of the hallucination, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But let's apply that to a real business life, business world scenario, right? Hallucinations don't just happen. They happen usually when there's a vacuum of information being fed into the machine. Now, the machine itself is capable, all these agents, these MCPs and so on, these are different type of agents. These actually go into websites. They're like a full search engine. They
Hmm.
can cite sources. You can build your own knowledge pools where they could go. That knowledge can be curated as if it's coming from good, reliable sources. And most of the stuff, unless you're going to the dark web or some weird
Mm.
place, and then most business people don't go to those places, right?
Yeah.
They go to relatively reliable places to get information. And that's where the AI will go. But it'll be able to
Mm.
fetch it faster. It'll be able to connect the dots, apply the logic, bring that information in a consumable manner to you. The driver for sellers and learning is curiosity. As
Mm.
long as humans have curiosity, AI is not a threat. The threat becomes there when my mind goes dull and I stop thinking in terms of, what is this or how should I do it? As long as I'm thinking about how and why and what, AI is just, we were looking at yellow pages, then we were looking at the internet, and now we have AI. And each one of them has been a significant step change in terms of speed, scope, and ability to give us more intelligence back, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what AI is, just bringing things at warp speed. And as long as my curiosity is there, I love it because in 5 minutes, I can do some massive things with it, which I wouldn't have done because I would have, oh, well, it's going to take me 5 days. I don't have time. I'll get distracted. But in 5, 10, 15 minutes, if I can get that done, I'll do it because the reward is much greater, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Love that. So before we talk about some of the, I guess, the key elements of the platform, can you just share with us some of the, I guess, some of the macro benefits that organizations that have been the early adopter have experienced? Because we mentioned before that some of the customers or some of the businesses are seeing a 50% increase in customer facing human to human interaction. What are some of the other benefits that you're seeing in the early adopter phase that confirms what you thought was going to happen? But is there anything that you've discovered through people and organizations using this that perhaps is better than what you anticipated?
Yes. So before I go into answering what's better, let me also put a disclaimer or a certain guardrail. So,
Sure.
how should agentic AI be used?
Mm.
If we're still thinking in terms of paving the cow paths, right? Whatever we've been doing, let's use AI to do it faster. I think that's the wrong approach.
Yeah.
The beauty of AI is that we can start looking at the whole process end to end and
Mm.
not just look at one step within the process or one task within the process. So, a couple of things. When you start doing it in one unified manner, right? One unified experience. Number one. So of course there's a productivity gain. I have time. The time gives me the ability to have more deal. The deal velocity improves because I
Mm.
can engage with the people better. My intelligence has improved because I can increase, I have better information at my hands. Uh, but I can also be much more inclined towards um, having delivering a better customer experience. Let me explain that, what I mean by that. So today, a buyer is handed off between three or four sellers. It starts
Mm.
with a demand generation person. They ask you the same question. Hey, who are you? What are your problems? What are your challenges, etc. They qualify you into an MQL. Then you
Yeah.
go to the SDR, asks the same question. Then you become a sales qualified lead. You go to the account executive and now that account executive. So it's a horrible customer experience. It's maybe
Mm.
good for my organization because I've divvied up those tasks between different people, but it's a
Yeah.
horrible client experience to be answering the same. Very frustrating. No wonder we are getting so many ghosted so
Yes.
many times,
Yeah.
right? Now, with this compressed time, unified landscape, one person can be dealing with one client, right? And you don't have to ask those questions again because the machine is retaining that. The AI
Yeah.
is retaining that. And before you get on a call, it helps you understand who this person and brings you to 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 the next step.
Yeah.
It's actually very much driven by next steps,
Yeah.
right? So that's number one. In addition to the productivity, it's the customer experience that we are delivering and the fact that we can have one person be the interface. Second is, believe it or not, around empathy, right?
Okay.
It's how do we actually engage better with humans? And so you've noticed this, I'm sure, getting that one size fit all email, right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
email usually says, "Hey, Darren, did you see my email from 2 weeks ago? And what do you think about that?" And I don't know you. Uh, and it's very presumptuous that I would have read it and remember, and that's all it says. And
Yeah.
then six emails down is the original email that sends laziness and so on. That's eliminated. So
Yes.
now I'm actually having a next step discussion with that individual. And in
Mm.
that next step discussion, I'm actually moving the ball forward. And third thing, I'm bringing ideas. Today, selling is not about selling, it's about partnering. And the best sellers are those that can bring ideas to the table. And this goes back to your question about, what are the advantages and should people fear AI?
Yeah.
No, use AI to give you good ideas that you can take to your customer and look better, right? So I
Yeah.
can solve your problems and say, "Hey, have you thought about this?" And then that person says, "This person is actually thinking about my business,"
Mm.
right? Not just about selling to me, but they're thinking on how I can do something better.
Mm.
And believe me, I don't need to be a domain expert in your business to do that. My AI will be the domain expert that will bring me to that point of being able to say those things to you and communicate in that manner.
Love that. Love that. And Usman, just on that, because you're talking about the not great customer experience, client experience versus now creating a really great customer experience. If we put ourselves in the shoes of the customer and they know that a lot more organizations are using some form of AI in their go-to-market strategy, whether it be research, outreach, and so forth. Um, how much of what we do and how much of what you do at Agentive is to make sure that it's relevant to the customer, where we've got that level of empathy, we've got that level of curiosity. So it may well be an AI generated piece of research, but it's still authentic and it's still, hey, this organization has got my needs at the forefront of what they're trying to think about. Because at the end of the day, people still love to do business with people and those they know, like, and trust. So, what are you seeing out in the industry in relation to the customer experience and the proliferation of AI, and still the fact that, hey, we are getting a good outcome here?
Yes. So I will say personalization at scale. So instead of sending that one template email that I'm getting today with the dear first name and name of company changed in all those templates, and you're getting the same email,
Yeah.
this is going to be different. The purpose and objective of the email might be the same, but the way it's written, the solution it's bringing forward. I'll tell you a little experiment we did. So, one of our clients came to us and said, "Show us how you would personalize a call center, support center for an Apple, for Apple
Hmm.
selling iPhone 16s."
Hmm.
So what we did is we took the iPhone 16 specs literally off the web, not anything special and secret
Yeah.
sauce, literally off the web, and we mapped it to all the different personality types of the individuals that were coming. And the AI was able to select the three most pertinent things for that individual. And that's what the call center support person, not an AI agent, that's the call script that was built for that person, right?
Right.
Using these are the top three features that you should focus on for this individual because of their personality, because of their background. That is not possible in a scalable manner today without AI,
Yeah.
right? And so now I'm talking your language. I'm suddenly talking about what are those three features that are meaningful to you, and
Hmm.
there'll be a total different set of three features or combinations that will be for somebody else. And there were about 60 of these features in the iPhone 60. And if you take three and you start doing all the permutations, you can imagine how many different variations you can get right
Yeah.
out of that. So
Yeah.
that's what happens. So in a few seconds, each call center agent is now equipped in a very personalized way to sell you something that you actually want to buy instead of trying to do a hit and run and like take this or leave, right? And
Yeah,
even if I'm not an expert in that particular feature, because the AI has brought it, it also tells me how to sell it. And I'll demonstrate that to you in a second, that it actually coaches me, right? In a complex environment, it will actually coach me as to how I can pitch the product, right?
that is
Humans
amazing.
are not going away. Humans are staying, especially in complex selling.
Yeah.
Humans are staying. It's just that their game is going to, if they use the right AI, the game is going to get a lot better.
But it means also, from what you're talking about, is because we can use the power of AI, it can get access to a volume of information and pick out the key things that are going to be based on the specific characteristics of the customer I'm speaking with. I might have already some understanding of their personality type, some history of calls, and so forth, that can now be customized in a split second that now means it's more relevant. And so, from a human interaction perspective, all of a sudden you're talking to me, and it sounds like we've been friends for 20 years and you've only known me for like 20 seconds, metaphorically, of course.
Exactly correct.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly
that's
correct.
powerful. That's really powerful.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you because you mentioned before also that often we take an old sales cycle or the way we've always done things and we try to put AI on top of that to do the same sort of task but make it sped up. Are you seeing then through a product like this or the business that you're building that we can revolutionize a sales process? Because you mentioned you got the marketing qualified leads, then you got the sales qualified leads. And often in sales, we talk about the fact that you've got your sales process, but you also have to be conscious of the buyer's process. So, are we saying that this is now an opportunity to revolutionize go to market, and maybe shorten sales cycles, maybe shorten buyer cycles as well, because it's more relevant?
Yes, absolutely so. 90 plus percent of leads that are generated at the top of the funnel don't make it, right?
Mm,
More than 90%, much more. I'm being generous in saying 90%,
yeah,
right? And therein that leakage is huge. And then once they make it, those the ones that actually start progressing, 84% of them don't close. So
yeah,
that's a huge, huge amount of leakage. Now imagine if right at the very start I had ideal customer profile aligned opportunities that were being driven based
yes,
on what are specific needs of a customer, what they're looking for in the market, and then what is my product portfolio. And those, just staying with the iPhone analogy, for example,
yeah,
those 60 features, I might only be familiar with 10.
yeah,
But my AI that's augmenting, it's not overtaking me, it's
mm,
augmenting me,
yeah,
knows all 60. And it
mm,
knows how to position the right ones, which I might not be familiar with. So instead of me losing that opportunity because I couldn't talk to a feature that I didn't know, and you know, I used the hammer and everything appeared like a nail, and I was just doing the same thing, and it didn't work. It didn't work. 84% out of the funnel, right?
yeah,
And so instead of doing that, I'll have a much higher conversion rate as a
yeah,
result of that.
yeah,
Secondly, yes, the revolution is happening. First thing I told you is take out all those three roles, bring one person as an interface.
mm,
And because this information is already available, it's being you know made available to you at the right time. You're being prompted, you are being prompted. That's another big thing. Today AI is very prompt driven. What we've done with Agentive is well, you can of course prompt it if you
yeah.
wanted to, but it's a promptless system, so to speak. It
Okay.
moves autonomously. It pushes the bar. This is, hey, you did this 2 weeks, 2 days ago, now you need to do this.
Mm,
And or this person responded, or this sales trigger happened, or this event took place, now you should respond. So your responsiveness goes up. So shrinkage of the time, better customer experience, um, and being much more relevant and a partner to your customer is, I think it's pretty revolutionary.
yeah, I love that. And it's and when we take talking about being at promptless, what you're doing, like you said, with the example of the iPhone 16. you're obviously building this. So the platform and the, I guess, the macro software or product, for example, is there, but it's customized based on the customer that you have using it, such as Apple or whoever. So it's actually using all the intelligence that is sits within the company, and it takes them through a process to make it more relevant, use the empathy, shorten the sales cycle, make it more of a user positive user interface, which should increase the amount of leads that are coming in because they're now better qualified at the top of the funnel, and B, increase the percentages of conversion because right throughout the buying process, we've now got information that's customized, that's dedicated to the needs of that particular individual customer at that time, which means they're more likely to say yes
That is
because they
correct.
know you like me, trust me. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And coming back to, the one size fit all and customization, right?
yeah,
So for example, in Agentive, when you log in, when you sign up, that's it. You just the first part. I'll give my company information. So
yep,
now the AI knows which company I'm coming from, and
yep,
by virtue of knowing that, it knows what products I sell, and it also knows who are my customers, because usually this kind of information is available on websites,
hmm,
right? And it also knows what industry it is. So everything that you will see in Agentive is custom tailored from my company's lens to your company. So I look at your company from my lens. It's not a generic, hey,
yep,
Apple is this, this, this. No. Apple, what does it mean for my company? How should I be looking at that? What can I sell? Who are my buyers, right? What is my value proposition to them? Who are
mm,
my competitors? What is their need in relationship to what I have to sell to them,
mm,
right? So everything is customized. And so we've taken the guessing game out that, oh, read the generic, what's happening in this particular company, and then try to second guess, okay, this is how I will do it. No, it's already done that kind of qualification for you. And it's looking at everything and it's presenting it to you in terms of a relevance for you as the seller, and in terms of what is relevant to the buyer, and that what is relevant to the buyer and how are you relevant to them, right? And
yep.
so we call that the match matrix. It's like a matching tool. I hate to
Hmm.
use this analogy,
The
but it's
match
like,
matrix.
right? So it really
Hang
is.
on, hang on, Usman.
It's
You're not saying this is the AI version of Tinder.
my head of user experience, that's exactly what he was motivated by. I'm not entirely joking. He used to give these Tinder examples, and I was like, I'm not very comfortable with the idea over here. But yes, I mean, in a lot of ways, you know, it's a matchmaking tool which matches the needs of your customers with the products you sell. And then
Mm,
starts building value propositions, call scripts, outreach that would actually resonate with them.
mm. Now, because you've talked about some of the, and I'm just looking on another screen here, some of the key elements and the foundational capabilities you've got, which you've talked a little bit about those. One question I wanted to ask you before I delve into those is for companies that are always looking for what's their competitive advantage. By using a service like this, software like this, solution like this, does it make it more challenging or does it make it easier for organizations to get clear on what their competitive advantage is?
So one of the parts of our platform is that in the context of your solution, it also highlights your differentiators from your competitors,
Okay,
right? So you are able to say, look, here are the five guys that are in our space, and this is how we're different
right.
from them. So
Nice.
it can bring that element forward as well.
Yeah, because it's always and certainly before the world of AI. I know AI has been around for many many years, but before the world of that, a lot of sales organizations that I was part of and I was working with is they're always grappling with what makes us different, and they're looking for what makes our product or our solution different, and they were probably looking in the wrong space because it wasn't necessarily the product. It was probably the how the product was supported or delivered or the people behind it that was the true differentiator. So, no, I really love that.
Customer centricity, I think, is a very big differentiator in
Yeah,
sales.
yeah,
And why are we not able to deliver that customer centricity? Because we're driven by volume, and that volume and the pressure to produce within a time doesn't give us the space, and the amount of heavy lifting we have to do to understand doesn't give us the ability to do it. Managers are constantly, hey, send out more emails, do, no. Now what AI can do is it can qualify out a lot of um, companies and opportunities that you shouldn't be talking to right now,
mm, mm,
right? And you only talk to those that are somewhat in the market or have a real need. And how do you
yeah,
know the real need? There's a lot of signals out there. It's in annual reports, events happen, it's in the news cycles, it's in Reddits, it's in social media. There are too many signals out there
yeah,
which can be interpreted, and you can pick up from there and actually start focusing only on those companies. So don't give me, a list of leads of which 90% are irrelevant, right? Give
yes,
me the ones that are relevant right up front, and then make sure that I don't lose 84% of those,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Love that. Love that. I wonder, just as you're talking, I was wondering, thinking because we're compressing everything, we've got now a lot more information at our fingertips that are now more specific and relevant to the customer, which should mean that the quality of the opportunities increases. I'm just wondering, this is just me thinking out loud, putting my sales leadership and the sales director hat on. I wonder if that will lead to sales directors, chief revenue officers being more demanding and being more uh, assertive in terms of getting bigger numbers in shorter periods of time. So will we find, for example, organizations pushing the sales teams harder to get bigger results in shorter time frames?
I mean, that's happening with or without AI, right?
Yeah,
That's always a manager's goal, is that my quota is going to be bigger next year. I want more deals. I've told the street this, and I need to outperform the street.
yeah,
And that's the nature of the business. And then they don't equip me with tools. They give me a fractured landscape to go around and figure it out yourself,
mm,
right? And
yeah,
so we have different tiers of sellers, some really who know the market, who know the tool set they're using, and then a lot of others that are struggling. And
yeah,
so let's bring them all, let's democratize that capability. And we
yeah.
can do that by removing that, I call it the Frankenstack, right? Instead of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Take the Frankenstack out of the equation and give me something that I can work with,
Yes,
a unified system that works for me.
yeah,
So
great.
yeah, I think it will happen, but that's the nature of the game you're in if you're in sales.
Well, it is. I mean, I've never met a salesperson or a sales leader that was ever happy with the sales target they were given for the next year, right? I'm just thinking out loud with all of this, the speed of market, speed of information. I'm thinking, well, that has to then equate to speed of results. Get the results. Get the results.
Yeah, but there's also one other factor that, one other big derivative of sales that we as sellers don't usually talk about, which is new product innovation.
Yeah,
Because when you're selling, your and you're a customer centric organization, your customers are actually giving you feedback.
yeah,
So now I can bring more product, and we started the conversation of how to bring products to market faster. So
yeah,
that's happening. And then you need to take this product that you've developed, this new product, and bring that to market. So my
mm,
portfolio is also growing. We're not stagnant selling the same toolkit, you know, 5 years from now. Everything is evolving in that. My learning curve has shrunk in terms of being able to pick up these tools. And my market has opened up because there's a new need for this new endpoint security solution that has come up, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so innovation drives the quota to a great extent,
yeah,
right? And vice versa. My success on the quota will hopefully drive more innovation.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think I don't think it's like it would be what you're saying would be right if it was a static environment, same tool,
yeah,
just sell more,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, you're going to hopefully organizations that are going to stick around are going to evolve. The
That
ones that are
and
not going to stick around. they won't
And that's
evolve.
it. That's it.
Yeah,
And I often talk about an evolution rather than a revolution. And
yeah,
sometimes an evolution might take a little bit longer. You might have to slow down a little bit, but be very, very specific and very targeted on what it is that you want to become known for in the marketplace. And don't try to be all things to all people. So
yeah,
I love that. Now, within the and you probably talked a little bit about this. I just want to, for the listeners' benefit, I'm just going straight off your LinkedIn profile, if that's okay, Usman. It talks about the fact that Agentive differentiated by four foundational capabilities, and I'll let you talk about these in a bit of detail. You've got the instant ICP aligned lead discovery. You've got pipeline generation in minutes. You've got intelligent buyer committee mapping. So that's understanding, I guess, the key people within your organization you're targeting, but also autonomous, hyper-personalized outreach. Now, those four things are what a lot of sales organizations grapple with. Some of them might be really great at one of four of them. Some might be super great at four of them, but there's many organizations that are not in that particular phase. Um, that can you just talk a little bit about those in terms of how we can, in the conversation we've had today, how it can actually help create that evolution and the differentiation?
yeah. So all those four steps are fundamental steps of any sales organization
Yes.
without AI, right?
Yeah.
However, they're distributed across manual tasks, across 16 different tools, and then a lot of research, right? A lot of manual task research. So that's why people excel in one or two, but they
Mm.
can't. The first thing is you have to have a unifier, right?
Yeah.
That there's going to be one unified transfer of data, information from start to end. Let's start with ICP aligned leads because that's your top of the funnel.
Yeah.
That's where you have 90+% leakage right there. So let's stop that bleeding first. And again, why approach a company that's not ready to buy, right?
Mm.
And then what are those signals? So today, when again, in a fully standalone environment, Agentive knows which company you belong to, what products you sell. And it's not just for the big guys, right? It's for fairly smaller companies as well
Yes.
and across all different industries because people have a lot of information out there about their products and what they do, right?
Yeah.
So with that, I can start creating the ideal customer profile and the human, the seller comes in, maybe it's somebody in marketing and says,
Yeah.
yes, I agree with this ideal customer profile. These are the industries, this is the focus area, this is my average contract value, this is my sales cycle, these are the technographics I want to sell into, this is the geography I want to go to,
Yeah.
right? Or today, I can write out a very complex description of what and my ideal customer is. I'm looking for people that are doing layoffs, have so many salespeople, have, you know, located in this geography, this size. I'm looking specifically for those companies that are using ServiceNow in addition to AWS, fairly complex scenarios, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it will, in right there, it will start bringing out a list of companies that will match that. How will it know? Again, going back to the match matrix concept, right? How will it know that? How will it know that? Because while it has analyzed our company, it is also going simultaneously and analyzing based on those ICP definitions other companies. So
Yeah.
if there's 1,000 companies that match your ICP definition, which are the 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 that are actually also in the need, have the need? So why go to the additional 600 when the 400 are
Mm.
really the top prime ones, number one? So that's what happens. Second is that within that company that it has identified, it will start looking for opportunities. Opportunities are tied to your solutions that you're going to sell and their challenges.
Yeah.
Now, just that part alone is a very heavy lift because that means I have to go into the company, figure out what their problems are. Sometimes those problems are not very evident, right?
Mm.
They're sitting in some news article that this happened over there or they laid off that person. So, what is that a symptom of, right? AI will find that and correlate that in seconds,
Yeah.
microseconds,
Yeah.
right? And so, right there, it has done that match matrix has built me within a company 5 to 15 different opportunities for my solution portfolio. And some of those opportunities are I would have never thought about them because I'm only good at selling the top 5 or 6 products in my, and there's a new, customer was telling me the other day, release notes. New
Hmm.
releases come out, sales guys just cannot digest all these new release notes, right?
Yeah.
AI can,
Yes.
right? So imagine if it puts that into your script that this is the latest and greatest thing that has happened, right?
Yeah.
So it actually improves. So the mapping happens better. I get those better quality leads. And then the third step, who's going to buy it,
Mm.
right? And in between who's going to buy it and identifying the opportunity is your complete business case, your study of, step by step, what are the reasons, what is the rationale, why you should reach out to them, what are the value drivers, what is the solution to the challenge to solution link,
Yeah.
right? This is the challenge, this is the solution, this is the ROI. So how do I do that? So let's
Yeah.
let's put those together. And then finally, um, so that work is all done. And then who are potential buyers? Now,
Yeah.
mind you, AI can do this all alone, but again, your question like AI, does it take my job away? No, I
Yeah.
can always come and refine it. I can tell
Yes.
it more about my solutions. I can open my SharePoint portal or my content management system or where my release notes are lying. So
Mm.
the AI is constantly staying on top of that. And
Yeah.
if new release notes come out, new features come out, it runs a news cycle and says, hey, even if you're a farmer and you have known accounts, within the account, a new opportunity is opened up for you.
Mm. Yeah.
Because we now have this, you should therefore go talk now. And then I can also put in job titles. These are the typical job titles. These are lookalikes of what I worked. And here I want to make a little side note, Darren, that people talk a lot about CRM, CRM. We need to have the CRM. And this is another big battle. CRM is data that is lying within, it's historic data,
Yeah.
and it's lying within the firewalls of your company.
Yeah.
New trends are happening outside the firewall of your company on the internet and out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Your CRM is not equipped to know that.
No.
So so the biggest value that the CRM delivers is that it can tell you what a lookalike should look like,
Yeah.
right? And then if you put the lookalike in the context of new emerging trends, those lookalikes start to diminish in value,
Yeah.
right? Because the lookalikes are tied to your history. They're
Yes.
not tied to the future, right?
Yes.
And so that's a big jump that we should also take into
Mm.
consideration. So now I have come in here and I can start enriching job titles. And I have new features. New people might be buying it, new job titles might be buying it. AI will be able to tell them.
Mm.
Then the engine goes out there, fetches those people, and what we've done is we cross-pollinate it, enrich that with email and contact information, right? So now I have 3 bundles of information. I have the buyer and their psychographics, their how they behave in. I have their information on how to reach out to them.
Yeah.
I have the opportunity fully mapped out and the challenges and the solutions fully mapped out. So now now another agent steps in, AI agent steps in over here. And this agent's job is to pull information from all of these 3 or 4 or 5 different knowledge pools and compose an email that's 2 paragraphs long maximum with 3 bullet points that summarizes all of that and is part one of my 16-step cadence
Yeah.
that it has built out for you based on
Yes.
with time lags and so on built into that. In minutes, my friend, in minutes. Is that revolution or evolution?
Man, this is what was that book that was written years and years ago? Something about 21st century, is it 21st Century Odyssey or something like that? This is just this is blowing my mind. Because what you're saying is it's a 16-step cadence. AI has actually set it out. It's got all the background. So literally, and I don't want to diminish the role of the salesperson of the AE here,
No,
but
absolutely not.
you've still got to bring your own intelligence, your own level of empathy and curiosity to it. But if you follow the sequence, if you follow the process, it's not going to necessarily guarantee success, but it will increase your percentage of being more relevant to the customer and therefore give you a better opportunity of closing an opportunity because you're delivering mutual value because it's
Yeah.
there and targeted and customized to that particular customer.
Yeah, but again, let's look at it this way. In every organization, there's top performers, right?
Yes.
And those top performers are obviously doing something that the others are not,
Yes.
right? And why are they doing it? Because they have muscle memory, for example, or they have domain knowledge, or they have networks, or they know their product extremely well,
Yeah.
and they follow the process, right?
Mm.
Now, 95% of the rest in the organization don't. But
Yeah.
imagine if we were to level that playing field and give them all the capabilities of the top guys,
Mm.
right? Plus, we feed them leads that are actual leads,
Mm.
not the hallucination is happening, my friend, more on the human side of the equation
That's
than on the
right.
AI side of the equation, right?
It is.
Because you can put guardrails around the AI. It's a lot more difficult to put guardrails, and it's a lot more time consuming. I wouldn't say, yeah, difficult and time consuming for
Yeah.
humans to do the same thing. But you
Yeah.
can put the boundaries, the same boundaries you would put for the top seller puts for how he or she decides which opportunity and what they're going to say and how they're going to move the deal. You
Yeah.
can put that for the rest of the team as well. And
Mm.
instead of them having to think about it, it's the AI is feeding you that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I can execute at the same level with the same quality as a top guy. So how
Yeah.
many of those 95% will now move up? I would venture to say quite a significant portion.
Mm. Yeah. Which means the company wins,
Yes,
profitability goes up. There's probably stickability now from a customer retention point of view because our solutions are now more pinpointed and customized to the needs and challenges they're actually experiencing. And as long as we can then follow up with the delivery phase and so forth and the customer experience through the buying cycle and the life cycle, more likely for them to come back and want to do more business with us.
that's right. Because the next extension is into customer success. And the next extension from that is feeding back into the product innovation lifecycle loop,
Yeah,
which then comes back into sales, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
my company and I focus on the sales and marketing step,
yeah.
but you know, who knows? Maybe we'll go into the next two steps later,
Who knows?
right?
That might be the fourth startup for you.
I don't know.
Well, because you've
Let's
got
get
so
this
much.
one off the ground.
Well, you've got so much free time in your hands now.
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
Actually,
oh,
it's kind of interesting. I'm busier, but I'm much more content with
yeah,
what I'm doing because the results are there. It's
yeah,
like we are fed by, what we see, the outputs. And so the results are very rewarding. So you kind of like, oh wow, this really happened. Okay, let's go do the next thing. Let's
yeah,
push the envelope a little bit further. I'm
yeah.
sure you've done that, right? When you're using, even if you're using the chat GPTs of the world, oh,
Yeah,
it really did that. Let me ask it a little bit more difficult question. And let
that's
me
it.
ask it a little bit more and keep
That's
asking
it.
it, right?
Yeah.
And then you start getting, okay, I'll ask it in fewer words and see how. So, I'll get lazy. I don't even, I remember when I first started using ChatGPT, I used to say please and thank you to it,
Yes.
right? And it's like, no, I don't need to say that.
No, you
And then
don't.
I was putting, question marks and full stops at the end of the sentence and, quotation marks and doing, no, just write it in your gibberish kind of language. It will understand and it'll give you a good
Well,
result. And if
it
it
will.
doesn't, change that a little bit. And,
That's
now what I do, I just write a pretty average prompt and tell it to convert it into a better prompt so that you tell me how I should ask you the question,
well, that's
right?
it, and that's how you train it, right? And give
Yeah,
me the prompt that I should be asking. Now
yeah,
write a super prompt, so I now can duplicate that, and it almost like becomes me. It's just it's frightening. It's frightening, but very exciting.
it is.
Usman, hey, I'm conscious of the time. This. I'm so glad we've got you back on the podcast. And congratulations for what you've created with Agentive. I think it's world changing, and as you're seeing in the marketplace, customers are now seeing, certainly the early adopters, a real difference in what they're creating for the market and their customers. So, first of all, thank you for coming back on. It's great to have you back on. The second thing is people listening to this, and I highly recommend they get in contact with you and check out what you guys are doing at Agentive. Where's the best place for them to do that?
So LinkedIn,
Yep.
Usman Sheikh, you can see my name on this podcast as well, or on and then through LinkedIn is a good place to do that. And our website is beagentive, beagentive.com. and schedule a demo from there.
Brilliant. Awesome. Um, One final question.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're going to call you now Nostradamus. Um, where do you think, based on being so involved in AI technology for a number of years now, where do you think is there an end game? Is there something that you're really excited about, but also perhaps something that might be a little bit concerning looking into the future?
Yeah, I think that the concern is that, you know, our curiosity slows down,
Yeah.
right? And we don't think. I think the engine for success where this does not, I mean, this can go on and it will go on, right? I'm a huge fan of Star Trek, right?
Hmm.
And if you watched the Starship Enterprise or any versions of that, way back in the 60s, they used to ask computer, tell me this, and computer was charting out courses and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I think we're getting towards that reality, right?
Mm.
I think the life cycle of being able to build things is going to be much faster. And that's going
Yeah.
to be much more exciting. And if I put the sales hat on, that's going to be a lot more things that we can sell.
Yeah.
However, we can get lazy as a result of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I say curiosity, because curiosity is what will, it's all mental, right? So it's the curiosity part that will keep pushing us. And
Mm.
then the tool set will keep feeding us back and kind of, you know, um, the results will show where this can go in the future, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say the concern is that we get lazy, we don't ask it enough questions, we don't push the envelope.
Mm.
And the future state is, I think it just evolves beyond my imagination, you know.
Mm.
I think humans are still going to be there because there are things, decisions that humans can take that we should not allow AI to take. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about sales decisions, you know.
Yeah.
I'm talking about bigger life
Yeah. Yeah.
decisions and
Yeah.
ethical decisions and so on.
Yeah.
Um, although humans haven't done a good job on the ethical side either.
That's true.
If you
That
think
could be a
about it,
topic.
right?
That could be a whole different podcast conversation.
So,
No, I
so,
love that.
so, but in seriousness, I think th- it's a pretty exciting future,
Yeah.
and I would recommend all your listeners, you know, they should jump on the AI bandwagon. Don't treat it as this pariah that's going to come and take your job.
Yeah.
Think about my son, right? Playing the
Absolutely.
guitar and still working at the same time.
Correct. Correct. I love that. And I fully agree with that. So I fully concur with that. Usman, thanks again, mate. And all the best for, I know this will be coming out in January, but have a great holiday season and may 2026 be an even better year for you and your company.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
How are
Usman.
you guys doing in the Ashes these days?
We are Australia are two up,
All
2-0.
right.
There's been two tests but there's three more to go, so it's not over yet.
Okay. Good luck. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy holidays, my friend. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having me. Take
Love
care.
your work, mate.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.